After Lionel Messi suffered heartbreak at the hands of Iceland, it was a big surprise to see him enter the press room with a smile on his face. He said, "This hurts. It's my fault. I take responsibility." But then he said, "Now we go to beat Croatia." And in this video, we're going to find out how. Hello and welcome into Talk FCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys, and today we are going to be looking into Argentina against Croatia, the tactical analysis of that game, how Lionel Messi is going to take hold of this one, bring it home for Argentina in a game that now they simply have to win. A draw against Iceland has left them playing catch up. They still have aspirations of topping this group, but at the very least we all know that Argentina want to get through to the knockout stages, and in this video we are going to be looking at every possible angle and breaking it down. Let's do this. So first of all, guys, let's just run through the events of that game against Iceland on Saturday afternoon. It was Argentina 1, Iceland 1, Argentina taking the lead on the day through Sergio Aguero, but not many minutes passed before Finn Bogason levelled it up for Iceland, and from that moment on, they were not being moved. They held on, they gave it absolutely everything, they defended as one, and they kept Argentina out. Lionel Messi missed the penalty with 64 minutes gone. Argentina failed to recover after that, despite Messi really doing his all to try and take them to that victory. They also had another very good penalty shout turned down when Pavon went down in the area, but overall it was disappointment for Argentina, jubilation for Iceland, and in the end, Argentina have it all to do. And what I want to do now is basically look into the Argentina team that did face up against Iceland and basically break down what exactly went wrong, what Sampaoli needs to change, and what they can do going into this Croatia game, which can give them the edge. And in goal was Willy Caballero. Obviously, in the lead up to the tournament, Sergio Romero got injured. I think Caballero is a real weak link, and he's not a bad goalkeeper, he's not a disaster, but for me, if I was defending in front of him, I would be nervous, because I think at any single moment, there's a mistake in him. He does not give you confidence as a goalkeeper, and that's what goalkeepers should do. They should convey that confidence to the defence, and I think Rojo and Otamendi in front of him, they must be very, very nervous of what's going on behind them. Tagliafico at left back, I think had a good game, pretty decent player there. He gets forward well, he's pretty solid defensively, didn't do an awful lot wrong. Rojo and Otamendi were decent at centre back. The goal really came from that fumble by Caballero, who didn't recover from that. Salvio was a bit of an experiment at right back. Sampaoli is expected to change that going into the Croatia game, so that was one really for Sampaoli that didn't quite work out. And this for me is the area that really didn't work. Biglia and Mascherano holding midfielders, two in there against Iceland, and I just think from Sampaoli that was massively unnecessary. He didn't need to go that defensive against what was already a very defensive team in Iceland. You don't need two holding players here, two anchoring midfielders. They didn't give a lot going forward, they didn't make any forward runs, of course they didn't. They're two very defence-minded players. There was far too many niggly fouls given away by both of those two in the middle of the park, and I just think you could have put somebody else in there. There was a genuine improvement whenever Banega was brought on in the second half, and I just think Sampaoli got that one completely wrong. There was no creativity from the base of midfield, there was no energy at all, and it was far too defensive minded to face up against Iceland. But for me, the biggest problem for Argentina was in the wider areas, and particularly on this left hand side with Angel Di Maria, who did not play as a left wing. He didn't hold his width, he didn't make runs in behind. What he kept doing was coming inside and basically crowding Messi's space, because let's be absolutely clear here, the entire role of that Argentina team should be give Messi as much space as possible in this area here. You want Aguero going in behind, you want these two holding their width, trying to get in behind as well, stretching Iceland to the max, so Messi has got a bit of room here. Instead, you had Angel Di Maria, who didn't hold his width, who wasn't tactically disciplined, he kept coming inside, he kept taking on the space, he was not good at all in this game, and not only that, he didn't create any anything at all going forward. And it was no surprise at all that he was replaced in that second half by Christian Pabon, who once again, when he came on, he was a completely different story. He was the man holding his width, getting in behind, showing some pace, and there was a genuine improvement. Meza on the right-hand side didn't give an awful lot either. I think we should have seen the introduction of Paulo Dybala. Not really sure why we didn't as the game went on. We saw Higuain come on for Aguero. Again, not really much of an impact. And the problem for Argentina was they were going so many times down the wings, so many times they were trying to get balls into the box, and at the end of the day, in there was Aguero and Lionel Messi. It's no good crossing the ball into the box and just hitting and hoping it in there when you've got two of the shortest guys in the field in against those Icelandic giants in the middle. I just think in that game, Sampaoli got his game plan completely wrong. I think Argentina were below par on the day, and I think all above all, Iceland defended magnificently. They got players around Messi, they got players in between the lines, and they did very, very well in the end to hold on for that point. As soon as they scored, they were looking to hang on to that, and you knew in the end they were going to do it. And now, before we come on to what Sampaoli should do against Croatia, let's look at Croatia themselves as they took on Nigeria later on that Saturday. They got through the game by 2-0 in the end. It was an Etebo own goal in the first half, followed up in the second half by a Luka Modric penalty, which I felt actually was quite a soft penalty. Mandzukic brought down in the box. It was one of those where the defender has got his arms around Mandzukic, but you've seen so many of those at the World Cup so far, and very, very little of them have actually been given. But to be fair, it wasn't a great performance from either team. It was quite a boring game. There wasn't an awful lot of creativity. There wasn't a lot of clear-cut chances. I think Nigeria on the day, to be honest, massively underperformed. They didn't give their best level. They didn't really test Croatia. And I think Croatia were pretty much in third gear, didn't really show an awful lot. And that's why I think this game is very much there to be won. There's not a clear favourite. Argentina have to win it for me. Croatia are a good side. But I think if Argentina show their best level, if Sampaoli gets it right, they can win this game, no doubt about it. And if we just look here at what Argentina will be up against in this game, Subasic started in goal for Croatia, and it's expected it's going to be a very, very similar team. Strinic at left back, who I was very, very impressed with against Nigeria, a very solid player indeed. Lovren and Vida at centre back, with Vrsaljko, the Atletico Madrid right back, there in defence. I think those two centre backs, Lovren and Vida, not really blessed with too much pace. I think Argentina can certainly get at them in that area. Obviously, midfield is a massively strong point. They got a lot of strength in depth there. Croatia, Rakitic and Luka Modric in holding midfield. And then around them as well, Perisic, Rebic was very, very good against Nigeria. Kramaric will play in that hole behind Mario Mandzukic, who also is a goal threat from set pieces. And they are a physical side, Croatia. They're not going to allow you too much space. They're not going to let you get a lot of time on the ball. Argentina will need to be at their best. One man who will not be available, though, for Croatia is Nikola Kalinic, after he was sent home yesterday from the World Cup after he refused to come on as a substitute against Nigeria. There was 5 minutes to go. The coach asked him to come on. Apparently he was so annoyed that he wasn't starting that he said, no, I've got a bit of a back problem. The coach didn't buy that. The day after, sent home from the World Cup. And I'm just wondering, looking a bit further into it, will that cause a bit of unrest, a bit of uneasiness in the Croatia squad? I'm not sure about that. But either way, Kalinic won't be available, and Croatia's striking numbers have been limited through that. And now let's take a look at the team that Argentina are expected to field against Croatia, and it does include some very, very important changes. Caballero will stay between the sticks if reports are to be believed. The back four is pretty much the same, but Mercado will come in for Salvio. That experiment, like I say, didn't really work out. Mercado is a more defensive player, and they will need that against Croatia. They've got some very good attacking players. Argentina's defence will need to be more solid. What they have done in midfield, though, is bring in this man, Lo Celso, alongside Mascherano, and I think that's a very, very good change. Lo Celso, a lot more positive, a lot better on the ball, and I think you can give Messi more passes in midfield, because what you need to do, Croatia are going to try and stop Messi, of course they are. That's what any team does against Lionel Messi. He's going to need to find in between the lines. He's going to need to play that ball in between the lines to Lionel Messi, and you need somebody a bit more skilled, a bit better on the ball to do that. Biglia failed to do it on many, many times, didn't pick Messi out when he needed it. I think Lo Celso in that deeper role is a much, much better option, and this this guy really excites me. Christian Pavon, Messi himself has spoken very highly of him. Like I say, he came on in the second half against Iceland. He was much, much better than Angel Di Maria, and he's going to do a lot better things for the team. He's going to hold his width, he's going to push on, he's going to try and create as much space as possible for Lionel Messi. He's got a lot of pace as well. That's going to cause Croatia problems. And like I say, keeping Aguero here with Messi, those two are definitely capable of causing Lovren and Vida problems. And I just think that Argentina, with this particular lineup, they look a lot more positive. It looks like much more of a team, and that's what you need here. You look at Iceland. Did they have any star players? No. Did they have too much star quality among them? No. They were a team, they were a unit, they were all reading from the same hymn sheet, they had a game plan. That's what Sampaoli needs to instill. He needs to bring this team together. They need to have a good balance, and that's what that midfield has now. You've got Lo Celso, who's a bit more offensive, then you've got Mascherano holding. Against Iceland, he went 2 on the defensive. Up here in attack, you've got Meza, who's maybe a bit more defensive-minded as a winger. He's more of a wide midfielder, but then you've got Christian Pavon, who's going to really try and run at Croatia and cause problems. It's all about that balance. It's all about having that good team dynamic, and I think this team, looking at it against Croatia, is a lot more positive. And the one weakness that I really did notice about Croatia during that game against Nigeria was that midfield, and I don't mean in terms of personnel. Rakitic and Modric are very, very good players, but they didn't really have a lot of options to really pass it to a lot of the time. There was a lot of wayward balls, there was a lot of long balls from Croatia, and I think maybe in this game against Argentina, they're going to put Kovacic in there, maybe they're going to put Brozovic in there. They're going to need more, because in a game like this, what they were doing was Rakitic and Modric were very, very deep, and these 4 players were very, very high up the field, and I just think against Argentina, they're really going to struggle to find those 4 players, because you didn't really have anybody dropping deep. Rebic was very high, Perisic was very high, Kramaric was very high as well. Nobody dropped in to get the ball from these two. It was very much long balls, very much over the top, and it didn't really work out for a lot of the game for Croatia. I think we're going to see a change in shape from them. Surely they're not going to line up with these 4. If they do, Argentina for me have got a big advantage. Lo Celso and Mascherano will be in here. 2 players there who are capable of playing passes on the ball, and like I say, 2 against 1 here in Lionel Messi. I would fancy Messi every single time, and it's about finding him. It's about finding him in that space, because like we saw even against Iceland, he can pick up that space. Even when he's got 3 around him, he'll still create chances, and the only thing that didn't happen against Iceland was one of them going in. He was very, very unlucky. He wasn't as bad as many people are making out, and also Argentina's result in general isn't as bad as being portrayed. Argentina got a point against a very well drilled team. Iceland are no pushovers, they're no bad team, they're a very, very good outfit, and in the end, looking at some of the other results, Germany losing to Mexico, Spain have dropped points, Brazil have dropped points. There are a lot of shocks going on right now at this World Cup, and at least Argentina didn't lose that game. What they have to do now, of course, though, is beat Croatia. It may not be an easy task, but they certainly have to do it. And I would back Messi, really, to really show up. I feel like now he's ready. He's had disappointment against Iceland. Now is his time to shine. And I think Argentina are going to get through this one. At least that's what my heart says. So leave your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. What do you think Argentina are going to do against Croatia? What do you think they need to do differently from what they did against Iceland? And what are your score predictions for this game? I am going to go with Argentina 2, Croatia 1. I'll see you then. But until then, as always, it's the World Cup.